What's up, friends, family, enemies? It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and I am here tonight for our mental health Fridays. We are going to have a really good discussion today. Um, Pardon my throat. I have a little frog in my throat, so they say. So my voice is kind of like off. I'm going to try not to strain it today, but we have to have a conversation. I'm going to explain to you guys what sparked me to talk about Black women activists and what I call patriarchy syndrome. So, we're going to talk about patriarchy syndrome. We're going to talk about Black women activists. We're going to talk about the state of affairs that we are in with respects to the current movement. We're going to touch over a lot of things. So, family, as you are all coming in here, I just want to give you guys all some time to come in here. But before we have this conversation, we have to go ahead and share the video. Share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for the notifications so when I go live, you are informed of that. And most importantly, give the video a thumb up, leave comments, and all that other great stuff. I want to be able to bring to you guys some attention to a case out of Jersey City, New Jersey, while you guys are coming on into the chat room. I want to talk about this young woman just briefly because I want to give you guys the track on how I came to talk about this topic. And I want to be transparent about this conversation, but I want to give you all some understanding about how I got to this conversation today. So I was watching another channel of a guy. He's out south and he always covers news stories. And he brought to my attention a young lady in Jersey City because I don't watch the news. So I don't know what's going on in my state, your state, unless you guys tell me. And her name is Aisha McFadden. And she's a 36-year-old woman that was shot and killed residing in Jersey City, and she was murdered on MLK Boulevard, right? Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. I don't know what is going on with that street in many of our hoods across the nation, baby, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I think I might have to do a conversation on that. I'm going to have to do some research and dig and educate the community on why MLK is turning over in his grave, baby, with all these streets named after him and all these ridiculous crime scenes that are going on in the slums that are in these communities and the ignorance. But we're going to talk about all of this tonight. We're going to talk about all of this. But she was a mother of four, and I want to bring attention to her name. Her name is Aisha McFadden. She's a mother of four. She was shot outside of the liquor store with one of her children. The child wasn't shot. She was shot and killed, but she had her child with her. She used to work at Lincoln High School in Jersey City. She worked in a cafeteria. And the shooter, who is Thaddeus, a man, Thaddeus Williams, no connection to her. They were not dating. They were not in a relationship. He was just a slum dude. We're going to talk about all this today. I'm giving you guys the meat of how I got to this topic today. But he was arrested. He's 37 years old. He was charged with murder. He was also charged with having a possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, an unlawful possession of a weapon, and criminal sexual contact. And the reason why they have it under criminal sexual contact, because as the story is told, Aisha was walking down the block and he tried to advance her for her number. She rejected it. She didn't want his number. She wanted to keep it moving, had her child with him. And he in turn went to go touch her or grope her on her ass. She turned around. I believe she smacked him or some stuff, whatever, something like that. He pulled out a gun and shot her in the torso, and she bled out in the streets. Now, I don't know much about Thaddeus Williams, the murderer, the black male who shot this black woman. See, we got to have this conversation. I think this is the perfect opening for this conversation. But he shot her and killed her. And I don't know, but I will bet, I don't know anything about him. I'm going to say that. That's my disclaimer. But I will bet that he has an incarceration history. And I would bet that because we know the prison system is an artificial, unnatural environment. And we know the prison system has devastating psychological and mental effects on this population. So I was sitting here thinking about this story. And of course, when I was researching the story, of course, there's several hundred stories of Black women being assaulted at the hands of men, being murdered at the hands of men, all of these stories. And I started to get annoyed. And so I said, you know what's so interesting about everything that's going on is we're constantly talking about the relationship between the Black man and the Black woman, but we're not really examining why we are where we are. Now, I know some people are not ready for this conversation. I am aware of that. Okay, I'm aware that some people are not going to be ready for this conversation. There's a combination of things that we have to really address in this video, and this is Mental Health Fridays, so we got to really have this conversation, right? I'm just looking at the dynamics. I'm looking at the relationship, and I'm wondering why. So I had to go back. You guys know I'm always going back, but as I'm going back and I'm doing my research on Black women activists. Oh, yeah, we're getting into this conversation right now. I'm doing my research on Black women activists, and I come across a video with my sister, Michi X. And I caught a little snippet of the video. Thank you for that donation, Ben Israel. I appreciate that. It's good to see you, brother. I caught a little snippet of it. And I sat here and I said, what is going on now? And so I listened to her story, and she's expressing once again frustrations with, once again, Tariq Nasheed. And it appears that he once again is on his tyranny when he is harassing and making statements. So I said, this whole thing is nothing new. It's saddening to see. I'm very frustrated by it. I'm annoyed by it for a multitude of reasons, right? We're out here and we say that we have to do the work that's necessary for our people to get free. I know some of y'all think y'all free. I know when we say the words get free, I know people get frustrated by that because people really do think that they're free. But we're not. We're trying to do the work to get free, and we're still in 2020 dealing with the same garbage, the same crap that we have been dealing with in our community for a long time. I'm getting frustrated with this community. I'm just being honest with you guys. Can I have an honest conversation here today? Can I have an honest conversation here today, family? I'm getting very frustrated. I'm getting very frustrated because to do this work, to sit on this side of the camera, to sit down and motivate people every day, to be in my own organization, trying to help people get their minds right, trying to get people to change their thinking, trying to get people to say, listen, even if you're going to leave your relationship, we have to do this the right way. We cannot be at war with each other for the sake of our children. We have to change the way we're doing things. We have to understand ourselves. We have to heal ourselves and not depend on our brothers or our sisters to heal us. We have to be able to do the work because our children need it. Our future need it. We are in the same condition because we're not healing. And so for me to come across this video, it frustrated the hell out of me because we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be here in 2020, but we are. So I went digging. Digging in my little research tools, right? And I went to go look up just some cursory information on Black women activists, right? And I want to be able to remind the community of the role of Black women activists. I'm not going to take you through the long history how we really started the women's suffrage, right? And them jokers hijacked it. I'm not going to go there. But I'm just going to look at some very powerful Black women activists and how we have collectively and continuously and consistently used our voice to uplift and protect our Black men. Come on, you're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. We have fought alongside Black men. We have been hosed down with Black men. We have been lynched with Black men. We have fought the good fight with Black men against the system that we live in. We have consistently, as Black women activists, been bringing a message of Black liberation. We have been bringing the message of having economics and the importance of having Black economics. We have been talking about self-sufficiency for a very long time. We have been talking about this stuff for a very long time. Give me a second, brothers and sisters. My computer is not catching its charge, and I don't want it to die out on you guys. I'm very much committed to this conversation, but I have to make sure the computer is charging. There we go. We have been working to rally Black people across the nation for a very long time. Black women activists in the past and Black women activists today have been gaining momentum and have gained a lot of momentum. Our voices are heard. Our voices have been heard in the past. Our voices are heard today to the world. I mean, it is evident. It is evident that when Black women talk, the world listens. However, for some odd reason, we are disrespected. We are thrust to the background. We are criticized, not only by the larger society, not only by the larger woman society, but we are also criticized by Black men and Black men activists. And what is painful to me is when Black women activists, their lives are threatened by Black men. Did y'all hear me? Did y'all hear me? I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. What is most painful to me is when Black women activists receive threats and intimidation from other Black men and other Black male activists. Thank you for that donation. I want that to sit and sink in for a minute. If we are out here doing the work, if we are supposed to be moving the people collectively forward, if we are supposed to be picking up the second phase of the civil rights that we've been fighting for so long, if we're supposed to be doing, all voices matter because we are all able to reach different communities and different populations within our community. But when something starts happening, when Black males or Black men, rather, in our community start to threaten Black women, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. This has got to stop. We do so much work as Black women. We make so much happen in the movement as Black women. And we are constantly ignored. We are constantly erased. We are constantly thrust into the background. We are constantly questioned. We are criticized. We are ridiculed. We are forgotten. Right? And I'm not understanding what is happening and why this is part of what's going on in our community. And this is not new. It's not new. Right? I want y'all to name some activists. Don't leave the site. Don't go over to Google. Don't go over into your phones and do things. I just want you right now, just to name any activist from the past, the present that you could think of, male, female, it don't matter. I want to hear you guys say your name. I want to see people say the names of the Black activists that you know of, whether they're marching, whether they're organizing in other ways. So we got Fannie Lou, we got Elijah Muhammad. Come on, give me some names, brothers and sisters. Give me some names, and don't go off your phone. Don't go anywhere else. Ida B. Wells, Fred Hampton. Come on. Yarama Karima, Marcus Garvey, Dr. Shonna Etienne, thank you. Empress Chai, W.E.D. Oh, it's supposed to be W.E.B. Du Bois. I get you. Josephine Baker. Right? So let me give you guys some names. Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman. Let me give you guys some names. Farrakhan, Angela Davis, Nat Turner, Yvette Carnell, Sister Souljah, Tone Talks, Angela Davis, MLK. Lena Horne, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, Khalid Muhammad, Huey P. Newton, Sojourner, Zora Neale. You see how many of the men names keep coming up, right? How about Gloria Richardson? Y'all know who that is? How about Leah Chase? How about Gay McDougal? How about Ella Baker? Diane Nash, Dorothy Height, Elaine Brown, Kathleen Cleaver. Remember who she was married to? Angela Davis. How about those names, right? And I mention this because I'm always seeing that we do a lot of work, right? Especially as ADOS women. We do a lot of work. We do a lot of work, and our names are forgotten. Our work disappears. What we stood for is a second thought. We're largely ignored. We're largely ignored within the community of all women. We are largely ignored within a larger society, and we're largely ignored in a community of Black men. I see somebody mention, or I see a couple of people mention Sister Souljah. Let's go there, because all of this is moving forward. I'm glad you brought up Sister Souljah. Let's go there. Think about what happened to Sister Souljah. And don't get it twisted. Sister Souljah is still speaking. She's still out there. She's still speaking. She largely does college campuses. If you don't know that, she still promotes her book. She got her last book came out. What was that? Midnight 3 or something like that. She's still out there. But what happened to Sister Souljah? When she was out there being just criticized, they were trying to demolish her out in public, on television, everywhere. So the question I have for you guys, who defended her? Who came to Sister Souljah's defense? I want you guys to really think about that for a moment. This is Mental Health Friday. We got to get our mind right. No one. Were there other Black male activists present at that time? Were there other Black male activists present in the 90s? Thank you, people. And no one publicly came for her rescue. No one came for her rescue. I remember watching her go in the news, and this is in the 90s. I remember her on the news eloquently defending herself against Bill Clinton. I remember her constantly holding her own. And that work really broke her down. It really destroyed her because she saw not only what the system was doing, when the system decided to use her as an example. Why? Why did they use her as an example? This is a woman who had remarkable work. This is a woman that had a camp that she ran for like 7-8 years or something like that, picking up inner city kids from New York and New Jersey, taking them to different campsites for 7 years. This is a woman who had her organization legitimately and was working in the community. She was known, loved, and respected in a community and known throughout New York City. This is a woman who got thrust into the music industry because she was skilled. She was skilled. And the stuff that she was rapping about was no different than what the men were rapping about. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Y'all listening? What she was rapping about was no different than what the males were rapping about. Right? But for some reason, her music was considered controversial. For some reason, they wanted to shut her up. For some reason, she was picked out of everybody else and made into a major example. I saw Sister Souljah a few years ago. And I was in Hackensack, New Jersey at a fish market, and many people that live around that area visit that fish market. Everyone knows that fish market. And I remember standing online, and she was waiting for her fish, and I was waiting for my fish, and she was waiting for her fish, and I'm waiting for my fish, and I'm looking at her, and she looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm looking. And I said, did anyone ever tell you look like? She said, Sister Souljah. And I said, yeah. And she says, I am her. I said, okay. How are you, Queen? And she was like, I'm fine. And that was the end of the conversation. And I can just tell that she did not want to have a conversation. She did not want to be bothered. She wanted to just fade and go about her business. And when I saw that on her face, to me, she looked like she had given her all to the Black community. I know she hasn't stopped. I know she's still speaking, but it looked like she had gave her all to the Black community. And the Black community, I know we're not going to want to hear this, sisters and brothers. We've got to have this conversation. We got to have this conversation. The Black community wore her out. Media wore her out. Just doing the work wore her out. I just sat there and I just imagined how much she dedicated herself. And I'm using her because she was so powerful and so outspoken. And from my time, we're all around the same cohort, right? In age. So I'm using her because I don't need to go all the way back into the 60s and the 70s. Thank you for that. Thank you for that donation. She said, let's get the situation all the way together, Dr. Shonna. I know you got the logics. This has to stop. We're going there. We got to have understanding first. Because I want to remove it from the hot topic on the table right now. I wanted to remove it from the hot topic, to take the emotions off of the hot topic, and let's really look at what happens in our community when we wear people down, when we beat up on our own, when we don't come to the defense of our own. What happens in our community? We got to start having these real conversations. What happens to the people who are actually doing the work? What happens to the people who actually love the community and they're constantly giving back to the community? What happens to those people? We can go through all of the history. The people that I named you guys, many of them are still alive. That I named you guys when I read off Gloria Richardson, Leah Chase. Some of them are still working. And they're faded to the background. Yes, somebody said burned out. Absolutely. It's tiring. It's tiring. So here it is. There's some notable statements that Sister Soldier made. And I want to bring this up so I can get on to the ending of this point. But it's some notable statements that she had made. If you watch her interviews, if you just spend some time, just spend a few hours, maybe 3-4 hours tops, and listen to video after video, interview after interview, she makes some very notable statements. First of all, 5 years ago, she stated that nothing has changed. And she's right. She said injustice is still there, right? There's still a lack of people who are not afraid of speaking out. And there's also people who speak out that get attacked constantly. Nothing has changed. It seems like we keep being passed this torch, but we're never winning the race. Right? She said in the past, listen to this, people, we're going there. This is where it's going. Get your pen and paper. She said in the past, the community had love for each other. The community had love for each other in the past. She said this current movement, as it stands right now, lacks love. And I had to sit on that for a moment because there's so much power in that statement. There's so much truth in that statement. We are lacking love right now. In the past, it wasn't uncommon to get a movement going when everyone was coming together and they're moving in the hundreds and the thousands. So we're always asking the question, why can't we do effectively what was done before? And I really do believe that she's telling the truth when she says the movement right now, the current movement that is going on, it is lacking in love. We are at each other's throats. Thank you for that donation, Engaging Black, who says they used her as an example to shut down Black women that talk too pro. Very sad. Now we got a bunch of Cardi B's in our Queens places. Right? And you're absolutely right. I really want you guys to unpack what I just read there as well. This is a woman who has a strong personality, a strong voice. She's a lyricist. She's smart. She's an intellect. She was able to put together programs to help people. She was so effective in what she did. And she did it no matter what the criticism was. But it comes a time when a criticism is going to wear you out. It comes a time when they're always going to find the person with the loudest voice to attack, to destroy, to shut up that person, to ridicule that person, to embarrass that person, to belittle that person. And that does something to everybody else. Right? But let's get back to what she said. The current movement that she sees right now in this current day, it lacks love. She said there are men not loving women. There are women not loving men. Children and their parents are at war. And we move individually and not collectively. Let me say that again. Sister Soldier made it very clear with what she sees in the current day movement. She said there are men who are not loving women. And she's not talking about same sex. She's talking about not having love, honor, and respect for the Black woman. She said there are women that are not loving Black men. The same is true. Not having love, honor, and respect for the Black man. There are children and their parents who are at war with each other. And as a community, we are moving individually and not collectively. She noted there being a lot of strife in our community. And here's the most powerful thing. That's right. Is your name Scrap? That's right, Scrap. In the mid-90s. That's not a long time ago. I mean, I was fly in the 90s, baby. You remember we used to wear those two-color socks? Man, you know, you have red and white on one foot and white and red on the other foot. Man, I was my 5411s. I ain't playing no games on my LA Gears. Remember LA Gears? Man, look, the 90s was shit. You know nothing? Y'all know nothing about the 90s, baby. I was doing my shit. Dr. Shonna was the shit. But she points out there was a lot of strife in our community. And right now, she's seeing so much beef in our community that it's gotten to the point where she said, you can't work with that. You can't work with what you're seeing right now. She said, you cannot organize. And I want you to remember this. She said, you cannot organize niggas, bitches, and bastards. And I know that's going to hurt some of y'all ears, but I'm just telling you exactly how she said it. And I had to sit on that for a moment. I had to sit on that and I had to really think about that. And I said, you know, that's the problem. This is why it is so hard for us to move. We got to really think about it. This is not time for us to get in our feelings. I don't care about your emotions right now. I need your brain. I need your intellect. I need us to sit down there and think about at any moment, have any of us showed up as niggas, bitches, and bastards? Let's just be honest. Are any of us contributing to that? Because this is the problem. This is why we have strife in our community. Once upon a time, we were organizing men, women, and children. Now we have a whole bunch of niggas, bitches, and bastards. And it's hard to organize that. It's so hard to work against people who are socially engineered. Like Sister Soldier said, we cannot organize angry men. We cannot organize hurt women. Right? And neither party sees their errors. Neither party can take ownership or accountability for their anger and their hurt. That's a problem. So when I was watching that video, when I was hearing Michi talk, and I'm not even getting into the dynamics of what was said and what was not said, right? I'm not even getting into that dynamics. But I'm looking at what is happening. And I'm listening to what Sister Soldier said years ago. And I'm seeing it play out. Like, I watched this video and I'm saying, why are people coming into her feed talking shit? Why are they even bothering her? This is an example of what niggas look like. There's got to be something mentally wrong where you can't just bypass somebody's video that you don't want to listen to. I do it all the time. If there's people on that I'm not interested in what they have to say, I just click off. What is going on with the psychological health of our people? That they feel the need to harass people. That they feel the need to threaten people. What is going on with the health of our community? How can we organize people like this? How can we move together as a collective? when this is the mindset of the people we are dealing with in current days. When it's okay to be a nigga, when it's okay to be a bitch, when there's no remorse to have bastards, not even knowing who their pappies are. Like, there comes a time where that is a problem. And I don't care. I'm not saying this to hurt anybody's feelings, but we have to have this conversation. We can't keep ignoring these things. How are we doing this? When do we stop? When do we look at ourselves and ask ourselves, am I acting like a ratchet bitch? Am I acting like a dumb motherfucking nigga? Can I just be honest with you guys? When do we stop and ask ourselves that? When do we press the pause on our emotions and say, is this going to help the community if I say this and do this? Is this going to help me if I say this and do this? Or are we just moving with a battery in our back, not even thinking, and just doing all types of hurtful, destructive things to the movement? The movement is nothing without the people. And what it's looking like today, the people don't want to move. Thank you for that donation, Nappy Yankee. She was dealing with weak BAN. Oh, is that bitch ass niggas? That's what that is? Right? Is that what that is? Just let me know, Nappy Yankee. Is BAN bitch ass niggas? I'm just trying to figure it out. Maybe I should start using BAN. Right? But we have to really think about that. We got to see what's going on in our community and say, where are we at? And how are we? Oh, so everyone's telling me yes. I know I'm dating myself. I was like, BAN. I have a hard time trying to decipher all them letters y'all be putting. If you can't read this, then you ain't black. And they have A, B, C, D, I, M, G, and all these letters, and they all mean something. And I'm over here trying to spell shit out, going in my kids' room, knocking on the door, baby. What does it say, baby? And oh, mom, that means blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, baby. Thank you so much. I'll go write it down. Let me remember this shit right now. Write this shit down. You're going to fool me next time. I got this shit figured out, right? Oh, no. This is the society we live in right now. This is even how they send text messages, right? But what happened? What happened to the people who were really sick and tired of being tired? What happened to the people who were ready to get free? What happened to the people who were bold enough to fight back? What happened to those people? We can't say we don't know what happened, because we're all witnessing exactly what Sister Soldier talked about. We all we're witnessing a whole bunch of niggas, bitches, and bastards. That's what we're witnessing. We're seeing men against women. We're seeing women against men. We're seeing children against their parents. We're seeing this. We cannot continue to see this kind of stuff and ignore it, and then expect to get better as a community. And no one is saying to stop the bullshit. Now, I'm not going to say no one, because I know y'all get caught up on words. You're like, no, Dr. Shonna, that's not true. I said stop the bullshit. Yeah, you did. I did. I get it. But for those who have a platform, who is really asking for the bullshit to stop? Who are checking people? Who is saying to stop? Why I don't give a fuck what your opinions are. There's got to be something that draws a line in the sand that says, no, it's not okay to threaten a woman. No, it's not okay to threaten her children. There's got to be something that draws a line in the sand, whether you like the woman or not. There's got to be something that says that is not okay. And we are normalizing this behavior. This is why it's okay for the guy I opened up the story with. I told you this is all going to go together. This is why it is okay for that Thaddeus Williams that shot Aisha McFadden in the stomach because she didn't want his number and he touched her ass without permission. This is why it was okay for that BAN. I used to, y'all. Woo, shit. Go on, girl. Go on, girl. That's why it's okay for him to shoot her in the stomach. Because who's going to check him? Who stopped him when he slapped her in the ass? Who stepped to him? Why did she have to turn around to be the one to slap him in the face? Right? Thank you for that piece of candy. You're right. We got to get on code. Being on code is to say, okay, listen, I may not like this person or I may not like this person, but this is not okay. This is not okay. But when no one speaks out, when no one is checking, niggas, bitches, hoes, and everything else, when no one is checking the socially engineered of our community, then it normalizes it and it makes it okay. And then it turns toxic. And toxicity is poison, and poison kills. And then we wonder why we keep facing the same nonsense over and over again. We wonder why this is what we're dealt with and why we are where we are. Black women activists has always had a voice. We have always been right there side by side with our men. But something is happening right now when we don't have that. I bring up Sister Soldier because the other people I named were side by side with men, like Kathleen Cleaver, Angela Davis, Elaine Brown. They were side by side with the Black Panther Party. Right? Nikki Giovanni, side by side with the Black men. And when I watched Sister Soldier, she stood alone. Not that Black men weren't present, they were. But she stood alone. She fought herself and defended for herself everybody who attacked her. Everybody. On every show, she's the only Black woman in the midst of men, including Black men, and she is protecting and standing up for herself and the Black community to all these males. And who is standing in the gap? Who is standing in the gap? Even when I started this conversation tonight, immediately, I seen comments. Will you believe everything Michi says? Or you're missing the fucking point. If that's what you're worried about, you don't belong on this channel. You're missing the point. On this channel, we are about critical thinking. We're about analyzing things. We're about getting better. We're about improving. We're about moving collectively. If you're coming here, and I say this all the time, family, if you're coming here to be entertained on this channel with Dr. Shonna, you're missing the point. This is not about who's right, who's wrong, who started it. It's all about what is right and what is wrong. That's what this is about, not who. What is right and what is wrong. You see what happened? You see that difference in that language, people? Not who is right and who is wrong, but what is right and what is wrong. That makes a big difference. That makes a big difference, family. When we are unable to hear that, and when we are unable to see that, we lost. We lost. Historically, you're not seeing the Black women activists fighting the Black women activists. Historically, you're not seeing that. So why is it okay for us to normalize the Black man and the Black woman fighting. If allegedly both are for the Black community, allegedly. See, I can't speak for anybody else. I only know the people that I know. Right? I mean, we got to really think about what Sister Soldier said when she said we cannot organize angry Black men and we cannot organize hurt Black women. That really resonated with me. That really struck a chord with me. Right? Really think about that. Because that's what I am seeing. I don't know about what you guys are seeing, but that's what I'm seeing in our community collectively. Angry Black men and hurt Black women. How can we get to a place of organizing where we got to heal that? And what's so sad is when you try to point out those areas that need to be healed, nobody wants to admit that they're struggling in that area. Nobody wants to admit they have anger issues. Nobody wants to admit that they're hurt. How can you organize people who don't even want to take accountability and responsibilities for their own doing and how they are showing up? Right? Mike said you can't love someone while hating yourself. It's gotta be a time where we sit back and we say, all right, something is not right. We got to stop this. We got to heal ourselves and we got to make sure that we're taking care of each other. But if we're not having that conversation, we're losing. I'm not saying that has to be the only conversation, but that conversation has to be interwoven in the conversations that we are having. Because if we're not bringing this all together, with the mental health aspect, we are at a loss. We're at a loss. We're losing. Now, I don't believe that we have to stop one in order to do the other. Right? It's just like if somebody was to come into my office and I say, well, stop raising your kids, stop going home to your wife or your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your boyfriend, whatever people's choices are, right? If I was to say, stop doing that and I just want you to stay with me for, 6 months so you can heal, that wouldn't be realistic. We do have to do it together, consecutively or in tandem. We have to do it together. But for us not to be capturing the need to heal, that's a problem. So when Sister Soldier was talking about the current movement lacking love, and she's basing it on the fact that people have been socially engineered to be different in this new world we're living in. They're not what the community used to be. Organization for the community was better then because we were closer to being whole. Why were we closer to being whole? We were closer to Jim Crow, to be honest with you. We were clear about who our enemy was. We were clear about that then. We had to collectively move together. We had to stand arm by arm. We had to depend on each other. It was clear who our enemy was. Our enemy hasn't changed. The enemy just has tricked us into believing that we are each other's enemy. If that is not the master plan of Satan himself, the devil himself, I don't know what is. We have clearly been tricked into believing that the person who sits across from you, who looks like you, is your threat. And when you have that mindset, you're ready to war with your threat. Did y'all capture that? Are y'all listening to what I'm saying? I'm seeing it play out every day. I'm seeing it play out every day. We're constantly being triggered and re-triggered, and we are attacking the wrong enemy. It's just like someone standing behind you. You can't see who's behind you. And then the person on the side of you reaches over and slaps your ass, and you automatically turn around and think it's the person standing behind you, and you hit that person when your enemy's right beside you. Laughing because now y'all scuffing. Y'all get it in a fight. You're in a scuffle. And he knows that he's the one who provoked it. This is how we're being tricked every day. How can you organize people who can't get quiet long enough to be able to hear? How can you organize people who can't sit still long enough in order for the chaos to settle? How can you organize people who are not willing to step back from the fight just to assess the situation, to make sense of the situation? So I'm ending this by saying, look, I thought about it. You know, we live in a patriarchal system here in America for the most part. And y'all know what that is, right? Patriarchy. Y'all know what that is for the most part. Then I thought about it and I said, I'm going to read y'all what syndrome means. Let me read to you guys what syndrome means so you can know why I say we are dealing with patriarchy syndrome. A syndrome means is defined as a group of signs and symptoms that occur together and characterize a particular abnormality or condition. Another definition is set of concurrent things such as emotions or actions that form an identifiable pattern. I like the second one. Emotions or actions that form an identifiable pattern. So when I say we are living in a patriarchal syndrome, what I'm saying to you is there is a pattern here of behaviors found within our own community. I'm not even talking about the larger community. I'm not talking about mainstream society. I'm talking about our community. There is a pattern found in our community where we are holding the belief that a man's word is golden. His word is the golden word. It is him in charge, and he's never wrong. And even though he's supposed to be the lead, now I'm not saying he is, I'm saying he's supposed to be the lead, even though that is supposed to be the lead in the patriarchal sense, right? What we are seeing right now in our community is a pattern, right? A pattern are emotions and actions that are forming an identifiable pattern of men who are not leading but want to be in the lead. Did y'all hear me? And I'm not trying to be funny. As the guy said, BAN. Thank you for that donation, Kobe. Like he said, BAN. We are seeing a whole bunch of these kind of guys, BANs, who ain't leading shit, but think that they are entitled. And they can dish out disrespect. And they can say what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. They can do all of this nonsense. Don't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But they can do all this nonsense because in their head, they come to believe because they are a guy, they can do this. And then they lead other weak-minded men to do the same thing. And there's no rule among these men. That's why it's a syndrome. It's a problem. is a problem. There is no rule among these men. And when I say there's no rule, there's no honor, there's no code, the disrespect that we're seeing is unbelievable in our community. The disrespect is unbelievable. We're not talking about it enough. To the point where you can't ignore the fact that somebody is doing the work right alongside of you to mobilize a community of people. You can ignore those contributions and yet focus on stuff that don't matter. Create division, create strife, create hate, create anger, create tension. And no one checks this behavior. Why? Why? I started this video with the man who shot that woman because my point is, I'm seeing all too often the amount of men who go unchecked for the disrespect, the violence, the antagonistic, the intimidation, the threats against women, and they go unchecked. And I'm not understanding what is happening in our community when we have normalized this behavior. Now, if you're late, you missed the point that I said we got angry men and hurt women. I'm not letting either man or woman off the hook. Our community collectively are demonstrating this. Neither one of us are off the hook, but there has to be a line drawn in the sand. There has to be a line that's drawn in the sand that says this will not and cannot continue. Why isn't that happening in our community? Why is that not happening in our community? Why isn't that dialogue not happening more frequently? You can't defeat white supremacy and racism when we can't even get our own home in check. It's not going to happen. And for some reason, we're not drawing that logical connection. We're not being able to see that in order for us to get good in this area, we got to clean up this shit. The syndrome has got to stop. The syndrome, the patriarchy syndrome has got to stop. Because that disease right there is making it okay to erase us out of our histories. If you do your history, if you do your research on Black women activists, they're easily erased, diminished. No one can really tell you what they did. The people that I just named, can y'all even tell me what they did? And there's a lot more names. There's a lot more names. The syndrome has to be healed. Because if we don't heal it in our community, we definitely are not going to be successful going up against white supremacy. Because before we even get to the door of white supremacy, we got to first knock down motherfuckers that look like us. That's causing it harder for us. And that's going to tire us out. We can't get to the door with no energy. When we got to jump over hurdles of our own people. We got to fight through our own people. Who has the fight to make it all the way up to the door of white supremacy when we're fighting each other? I don't have the fight in me. Just like Sister Soldier said, you can't organize niggas, bitches, and bastards. You can't do it. And I see why the sister got tired. I see why so many of us get tired. I see why we fade to the back and just disappear. So we got to take accountability. We got to be able to look at ourselves and be able to say, when we're participating, whether we're online and we're in person, or we in our own families and our own private lives, we have to be able to say, how is my words, how are my words, or how is my behavior hurting or helping this cause? Even if it's as simple as laughing at stuff that you know is wrong. That shit is not funny. It doesn't help the cause. It reinforces a whole bunch of dumb ass niggas and bitches that ain't got no sense, that have been socially engineered to think and behave the way they do. It just reinforces their bad behavior, and it normalizes their bad behavior, and it goes unchecked, and it's toxic, it's poisonous, and then it comes back and does damage in our community. Thank you for that donation, King. King says, I believe the men at the time saw Sister Soldier as a threat to the leadership position they wanted, so they fought against her. And it's sad. It is very sad. It is very sad. And here's a woman that was just doing it from her heart. Here's a woman that truly, honestly believes in her people. And we burnt her out. And we don't even honor her to this day. We don't even keep her as a part of our conversation. We don't even study to learn from her, because that's what happens to Black women in the struggle. We get faded to the back, despite what we do, despite the knowledge we bring. When we give up and get burnt out, we get faded to the back and forgotten. Yes, John, I believe that what you're saying, we got to do better. We got to do better as a collective people. Listen, that's all I have for you guys. Friday night, that's our mental health days. I hope this was something that we can think about, right? I hope that the takeaway is clear, that we have to dismantle the patriarchy syndrome that exists in our community. We have to dismantle it, and we have to hold ourselves accountable and start to ask ourselves, the actions and the behaviors that we're demonstrating, is it helping or hurting our cause? Because if it's hurting our cause, then that means that there's work in you that you have to get together. And I don't expect people to be like me. But as you guys know, I don't come on here and I'm not gossiping. I'm not starting on that shit. I'm not going back and forth with no dumb shit. I'm not doing it. And not because I think I'm better than anybody else, but because mental health is real. And I know what happens when we're fighting negative energy constantly. When you're constantly tussling with negative energy, that shit is going to rub on you. It's going to rub off on you, and it's going to turn you. And I don't want to lose my laughter. I don't want to lose my love. Hey, Sid, thank you for the donation. I miss you. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my energy. I don't want to lose the thrill I get when I open up my eyes in the morning. I say, what am I going to talk about on Friday? What am I going to talk about on Sunday? And I get up and I start researching. I start looking at things. I don't want to lose that drive. But if we keep going like this as a community, it doesn't make sense for me to be a part of it. I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm not telling y'all what to do. I'm saying for Dr. Shonna, if we got to fight negative fucking people all the time, I'm not doing it, because that's draining. So I know if it's draining for me, it's draining for y'all. But the problem is, some of us don't even recognize that we are the problem. Some of us don't even recognize that we're negative. We always pointing a finger at everybody else, but never looking in the mirror to see ourselves. Again, before you decide to do anything, ask yourself, are your words, or your behaviors, or your actions helping or hurting the movement? Because if you're hurting the movement, if you're contributing to bad behavior, if you're normalizing bad behavior, you're part of the problem. And you will be the reason why we don't move forward. That's all I got for you guys today. That's all I got for you guys today. Somebody said, truth ain't in dishonest people. Kobe says, I'm just trying Democrats and okay, he's talking about Democrats and stuff. James says, I have confidence there will be a collective change. I have seen many examples of youth being positive and proactive. We'll see. We'll see. And I'm not going to be the Debbie Downer. But if we're seeing the patterns in history that hasn't changed, but needs to change, and we are not the ones doing it, then we're going to burn out our youth that you're talking about. We're going to burn out the young adults that you're talking about as well. Because it's tiring. This work is tiring. Right? And whether you're doing it directly or not, the fact that you are part of the community, you're doing the work if you are in the movement, no matter how small it is. So that's what I mean when I say you got to really look at yourselves and ask yourself, is this going to help or hurt? Because if it hurts and you do it anyway, you need healing. Peace and blessings. I love every last one of you guys. Be a great one.